I didn't think much of it when Amanda suggested we host a game night. "It'll be fun," she said, her voice dripping with a kind of rehearsed enthusiasm I'd started noticing more often. She had already invited everyone. Her coworkers, her gym friends, even a couple of our neighbors. The house was buzzing that evening. The scent of her favorite cinnamon candles mixed with the faint tang of wine. Amanda was everywhere, floating from group to group, her laugh a little too loud, her touch lingering a second too long on certain people. It wasn't just me who noticed. My buddy, Ryan, nudged me at one point and whispered, "She's in rare form tonight, huh?" Rare form. That was one way to put it. Halfway through the evening, Amanda introduced me to someone new. A guy named Travis. Tall, confident, the kind of guy who had perfected the friendly but just flirty enough act. She claimed he was her work buddy. But there was something about the way she introduced him. Her hand on his arm, the sparkle in her eye. It wasn't just casual. "Ethan," she said, with that tone women use when they want to pretend nothing's amiss. "Travis is the one I told you about, remember? The genius with the spreadsheets." I didn't remember, and I couldn't shake the feeling that she had said it for him. Not me. For most of the night, I found myself watching her. Not intentionally at first, but I couldn't help it. Amanda had a way of commanding attention, and tonight all of her attention was on Travis. She'd laugh at his jokes like he was the funniest man alive. She'd lean in close when he spoke, touching his shoulder or arm whenever she could. It was small, sure, but it was there. By the time the party started winding down, Amanda was glowing in that way she used to after our best dates. Except this time, the glow wasn't for me. I tried to convince myself I was imagining it, that I was just tired or jealous. But then, as I was gathering empty glasses from the living room, I heard it. A soft laugh. Her laugh. I turned the corner and saw them. Amanda and Travis. Standing a little too close in the hallway near the stairs. She had her hand on his chest. Her head tilted in that familiar way, like she was hanging on to every word he said. Travis looked down at her, and there was no mistaking the chemistry between them. "Everything okay?" I asked, stepping into the space. Amanda jumped, her hand dropping immediately. "Of course. Travis was just telling me about this ridiculous client he had today." Travis nodded, smiling, but there was something smug in his expression, something that made my blood simmer. The rest of the night passed in a blur. Amanda acted as if nothing had happened, laughing and joking with our guests, but I couldn't shake the image of her and Travis in the hallway. When the last guest finally left, I locked the door and turned to her. "Who is Travis, really?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Her response was quick, too quick. "I already told you, he's just a friend from work. Why are you being so weird about this?" "I'm being weird? Amanda, you were practically wrapped around him all night." Her expression hardened. "Oh, give me a break, Ethan. Are we really doing this right now? After I just spent the entire evening hosting your friends too." It wasn't an answer, and we both knew it. Amanda stormed off to the bedroom, slamming the door behind her. I stood in the living room, surrounded by the remnants of what was supposed to be a fun night, feeling the weight of something I didn't want to name. For the first time, I didn't follow her. The next morning, Amanda acted like nothing had happened. She strolled into the kitchen wearing her favorite robe, humming some tune under her breath as if the tension from last night had been a bad dream. She even handed me a cup of coffee with a smile. "Morning," she chirped, like we hadn't just had our first real fight in years. "Morning," I replied stiffly, watching her carefully. She didn't meet my gaze, instead focusing on the toaster like it was the most fascinating invention in human history. I wanted to let it go. I really did. But my gut was twisting in ways I couldn't ignore. Something was off, and every instinct in me screamed to dig deeper. Amanda left for work not long after, blowing me a kiss on her way out the door. The second I heard her car pull away, I found myself walking to her side of the bed. Her phone was gone, of course, but her laptop sat on the nightstand, the lid slightly ajar. I stood there for a moment, staring at it. Part of me felt like I was crossing a line, but another part, the louder part, whispered, "You deserve to know." I opened it. The screen blinked to life, revealing her work email. For a second, I almost sighed in relief, just boring spreadsheets and project updates. But as I scrolled through her inbox, one email thread caught my eye. It was titled, "Lunch Plans?" Sent from someone named Travis J. My stomach dropped. I clicked on it and there it was. The thread wasn't about lunch. Not really. It was full of inside jokes, playful banter, and what could only be described as flirting. One line from Amanda stood out, bolded in my mind like a neon sign. You always know how to make me laugh. Can't wait for tomorrow. Winky face. I sat back, the words searing themselves into my brain. Could it be innocent? Maybe. But it didn't feel innocent. Not when I remembered the way she'd looked at him last night. I scrolled down further. That's when I found the photos. There weren't many, just a handful of selfies attached to an older email. Amanda and Travis sitting in what looked like a restaurant booth, their heads close together. Amanda was smiling, no glowing, in a way I hadn't seen in months. There was one picture where his arm was around her. Their faces so close it made my skin crawl. I slammed the laptop shut and leaned back, the room spinning around me. What the hell was I supposed to do with this? Was this proof? Or was I just reading too much into something harmless? A buzzing noise snapped me out of my thoughts. It was her tablet, lighting up with a notification. It was a message. From Travis. Can't stop thinking about last night. You're incredible. The words hit me like a freight train. My hands shook as I picked up the tablet, the message staring back at me like a taunt. Before I could think, my phone rang. It was Amanda. Hey babe, she said brightly. Just wanted to check in. How's your morning? I could barely form words. It's fine, I said, my voice strained. Good. I just remembered. Can you grab the dry cleaning today? I completely forgot. Oh, and don't forget to water the plants. She sounded so normal, so casual. Sure, I replied. Thanks. Love you. She hung up before I could say anything else. I stood there, gripping the tablet, her words still ringing in my ears. Love you. What kind of person could say that after sending messages like these? My mind raced, questions piling on top of each other. What exactly had happened last night? Was it before or after she'd humiliated me in front of our friends? I needed answers. I grabbed my keys, my heart pounding as I left the house. If Amanda thought she could lie to my face and keep her secrets, she was about to learn she was dead wrong. I sat in the car outside Amanda's office for what felt like hours, my mind spinning with every worst-case scenario. The proof was undeniable, those photos, the texts, and yet, part of me still clung to the possibility that there was an explanation, that maybe I had misread everything. But then I saw her. Amanda emerged from the building, laughing as she walked. She wasn't alone. Travis was right beside her, his hand grazing the small of her back as they made their way to the parking lot. The way she looked at him, playful, relaxed, completely at ease, was like a knife twisting in my chest. I didn't even remember getting out of the car. The next thing I knew, I was standing a few feet away, my voice cutting through the air. Amanda! She froze mid-laugh, her head whipping around. When she saw me, her smile vanished, replaced by something that looked suspiciously like panic. Ethan, she said, her voice tight. What are you doing here? Travis took a step back, his face carefully neutral, though I could see the flicker of discomfort in his eyes. I could ask you the same thing, I said, my voice trembling with barely contained rage. Except I already know the answer. Amanda's eyes darted to Travis, then back to me. Ethan, can we not do this here? You're making a scene. Oh, I'm making a scene? I laughed bitterly. That's rich coming from someone who's been sneaking around behind my back. Her face turned pale, and for a split second, she looked like she might deny it. But then, as if flipping a switch, her expression hardened. You're being ridiculous, she said, crossing her arms. Travis and I were just getting lunch. That's it. Lunch? Is that what you call whatever happened last night? I snapped, pulling out my phone and holding up the screenshot of the text message. Because he seems to remember it pretty vividly. Amanda's jaw tightened, her eyes narrowing as she realized I wasn't bluffing. You went through my stuff? She hissed, her voice low and venomous. What the hell is wrong with you? What's wrong with me? I shot back, my voice rising. You're the one sneaking around with this guy, lying to my face, and acting like I'm the crazy one. Okay, hold on, Travis interjected, raising his hands like he was some kind of peacemaker. Maybe we should all take a step back. Shut up, Travis. I snapped, not even looking at him. Amanda stepped forward, her face flushed with anger now. This is exactly why I didn't tell you, Ethan. You're so controlling, always jumping to conclusions. God forbid I have a friend who happens to be a man. A friend, I barked, waving my phone again. Friends don't send messages like this, Amanda. Friends don't look at each other the way you were looking at him. For a moment, the only sound was the distant hum of traffic. Amanda stared at me, her chest rising and falling rapidly, before she finally spoke. Fine, she said, her voice cold. If you really want to know, yes, Travis and I have been spending time together. The words hit me like a sledgehammer. But it's not what you think, she added quickly, her tone defensive. Nothing has happened, Ethan. Not really. It's just, I've been unhappy. You don't make me feel the way you used to, and Travis, he listens to me. He makes me feel alive again. I stared at her, my mind reeling. Alive? So I'm just… what? Dead weight to you now. That's not what I said, she snapped. But let's be honest, Ethan. When was the last time we were really happy? When was the last time you even tried to make me feel special? Her words stung, but I wasn't about to let her turn this around on me. Don't you dare put this on me, Amanda. If you had a problem with our marriage, you could have talked to me. But instead, you chose to run to him. Travis took another step back, clearly uncomfortable. I think I should go, he mumbled, retreating toward his car. Yeah, you should, I spat. And don't bother coming back. As soon as he was gone, Amanda rounded on me. Congratulations, Ethan. You've officially embarrassed me in front of a coworker. Are you happy now? Happy, I repeated, my voice cracking. You've been lying to me for God knows how long, and you're worried about being embarrassed? Amanda sighed, running a hand through her hair. Look, I don't want to do this here. Let's go home and talk about it like adults. But I didn't trust her anymore. Not her words, not her intentions, nothing. I'll see you at home, I said flatly, turning on my heel and walking away before she could say another word. As I got into my car and drove off, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. I didn't go straight home. Couldn't. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, my heart pounding like a drum. Amanda's words echoed in my head, each one sharper than the last. He listens to me. He makes me feel alive again. Alive. What a slap in the face. As if our life together, our home, our years of building a future, wasn't enough. I parked in an empty lot near the park and stared blankly at the dashboard. It was quiet here, away from the chaos, but my mind was anything but. I needed clarity, something to make sense of the mess she just dumped on me. So I called Olivia. Olivia was Amanda's closest friend, but she'd always been kind to me, even when Amanda wasn't. If anyone could give me a straight answer, it was her. Ethan? She answered, sounding surprised. What's up? Everything okay? Not really, I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. There was a pause. Okay. What's going on? It's about Amanda, I began, gripping the phone tightly. How long has she been spending time with Travis? The silence on the other end was deafening. Olivia, I pressed. She sighed heavily, and when she spoke, her voice was laced with guilt. Ethan, I don't know if it's my place to… Please, I interrupted. I need to know. There was another long pause before she finally caved. They've been close for a few months now. At first, I thought it was harmless, just work stuff. But lately, I don't know. She's been different, distant. I didn't want to believe it was anything serious. But what? I demanded. I caught them once, she admitted reluctantly. At a party a few weeks ago. They were in the corner talking and it was intimate. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but it didn't look good. My stomach turned. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't know what to do, she exclaimed. Amanda's my friend, but you're my friend too. I didn't want to get involved unless I was sure. I exhaled slowly, trying to keep my anger in check. Do you think they're involved? I don't know, she said honestly. But I think you deserve the truth. If you want my advice, Ethan, you need to ask her outright. No more guessing, no more avoiding it. Just Be prepared for whatever she says. I thanked her and hung up, my mind racing. Olivia's words confirmed what I'd been afraid of, but they also gave me resolve. If Amanda wanted to play games, fine. Two could play. By the time I got home, the house was quiet. Amanda was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone like nothing had happened. When I walked in, she barely glanced up. "You took your time," she said, her tone clipped. I didn't answer. Instead, I walked past her to the bedroom and pulled her laptop off the nightstand. "What are you doing?" she called after me, her voice rising. "Getting the truth," I said flatly, opening the laptop and scrolling through her emails again. This time, I wasn't looking for subtle hints. I wanted concrete evidence, and I was determined to find it. "Ethan, stop," she said, rushing in behind me. She tried to grab the laptop, but I held it out of her reach. "Why?" I shot back. "Afraid I'll find something you don't want me to see? This is insane," she yelled. "You're acting like a paranoid psycho." But then, as if fate itself wanted to seal her betrayal, a new message popped up. It was from Travis. "Tonight was amazing. Let me know when you can sneak away again." Amanda froze, her face draining of color. "Well?" I asked, holding the screen up to her. "Care to explain this one?" For a moment, she said nothing, her mouth opening and closing like she was searching for the right words. Then, to my disbelief, she actually smirked. "You know what, Ethan? Fine. Yes, I've been seeing Travis. And you know why? Because he doesn't treat me like I'm invisible. He makes me feel wanted. Something you haven't done in years." Her words hit me like a slap. "Are you even listening to yourself?" I said, my voice breaking. "We built a life together, Amanda. And this is how you repay me." "You built a life," she shot back, her eyes blazing. "But you forgot to include me in it. Do you even know what I want anymore? What I need?" "I didn't know you needed a backup husband," I yelled, slamming the laptop shut. Amanda rolled her eyes, crossing her arms. "Oh, grow up, Ethan. Maybe if you'd paid half as much attention to me as you do to your stupid work, we wouldn't be here." Her words were cruel, calculated, and for the first time, I realized I wasn't looking at the woman I'd married. This Amanda was someone else entirely. Cold, selfish, and unapologetic. I took a step back, my chest heaving. "You've made your choice," I said quietly. "Now I'm making mine." She blinked, startled by the calmness in my voice. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means we're done," I said, turning toward the door. "You can have your freedom, Amanda. I hope it makes you happy." Her response followed me down the hallway, sharp and venomous. Good. Maybe now I can finally have a real relationship. I didn't look back. The days after I walked out felt like trudging through quicksand. The silence in the house was deafening. The kind of silence that swallowed you whole. Amanda didn't call or text, not even to fight or explain. That silence spoke louder than any words could. She was done pretending. I wasn't. The anger, the humiliation, the betrayal. It simmered in my chest, refusing to let me rest. But under it all, there was something worse. The nagging feeling that I still didn't know the full truth. Amanda had admitted to seeing Travis, but how far had it really gone? Her casual dismissal of our marriage made me wonder what else she'd kept hidden. So I decided to find out. It started with the shared phone bill. I hadn't paid much attention to it before, but now I studied every line like a detective cracking a case. Amanda's number had been in constant contact with Travis's. Texts and calls at all hours of the day, some as late as 2 a.m. And there were other numbers too, ones I didn't recognize, always linked to short calls or cryptic messages. That wasn't all. The charges on our credit card revealed more breadcrumbs. Restaurants I hadn't been to, hotel charges in the middle of the week, Uber rides to addresses I didn't recognize. My heart sank further with every discovery. It wasn't just Travis. There was more. I wasn't sure what I'd find when I decided to confront her again, but I knew I couldn't stay silent any longer. Amanda was still at the house, still occupying the space we had built together, but she acted like a guest, barely speaking to me, retreating into the bedroom every night without a word. This time, I cornered her in the kitchen. "We need to talk," I said, my voice cold. She looked up from her phone, a faint smirk tugging at the corner of her mouth. "Haven't we already said everything that needs to be said?" I dropped the phone bill and the credit card statement on the counter between us. Not everything, apparently. Her eyes flicked to the papers, then back to me. What is this? Proof, I said, my voice rising. Proof that Travis isn't the only one. Who are these other numbers, Amanda? Who are you meeting at these hotels? For a moment, she just stared at me, her expression unreadable. Then, to my disbelief, she laughed. A low, humorless sound. Wow, she said, shaking her head. You really went all out, didn't you? Snooping through my bills, tracking my calls. You're obsessed, Ethan. Don't you dare turn this on me, I snapped. You're the one who turned our marriage into a joke. How long has this been going on? And how many others have there been? She leaned against the counter, crossing her arms like she was bored. Does it really matter? My chest tightened. It matters to me. Amanda sighed dramatically, as if my pain was an inconvenience. Fine. You want the truth? I've been bored, Ethan. For years. You work, you come home, we sit on the couch, rinse and repeat. I needed excitement, something different. And yes, Travis gave me that. So did a few others. Her words hit like a wrecking ball, but she wasn't finished. Honestly, I don't even feel bad about it anymore. You let this happen, Ethan. You made it easy. You're predictable, boring, and honestly, you've been more like a roommate than a husband for a long time now. The casual cruelty in her voice was unbearable. My fists clenched at my sides as I struggled to keep my composure. So that's it? You just decided I wasn't enough and started screwing around like it was nothing. Don't be so dramatic, she said, rolling her eyes. You act like I planned this, but it's not like that. Things just happened. And honestly, maybe it's for the best. Now we can both move on. Her apathy cut deeper than the betrayal itself. Amanda had already moved on. She wasn't even pretending to fight for us anymore. Move on, I echoed, my voice trembling. You've destroyed everything, Amanda. And now you're acting like I should just be okay with it. She shrugged, picking up her phone like the conversation was over. You'll get over it. People do. Something inside me snapped. You don't even care, do you? Not about me, not about what we had. Nothing. Her silence was all the answer I needed. I grabbed my keys and left without another word, slamming the door behind me. The house, the life we had built, it wasn't mine anymore, and neither was she. But as I drove aimlessly through the city, one thought kept gnawing at me. I had lost Amanda long before I realized it. The question was, had I lost myself too? The days that followed felt like the aftermath of a bomb blast. Everything in shambles, the air thick with the acrid stench of betrayal. But instead of mourning the ruins, I found myself consumed by a need for answers. I couldn't let it end like this, not with Amanda smugly playing the role of the victim in a game she had rigged. So I started digging deeper. First, I tracked down the unknown numbers from her call history. It wasn't hard. One belonged to a colleague I recognized. Another to a name I'd never heard before, Matt C. I called Ryan, my oldest friend, who had always been the Sherlock to my Watson when it came to life's mysteries. Matt C., Ryan said, his voice hesitant on the other end of the line. Didn't Amanda mention him before? I think he's that guy from her gym. Her gym, of course. Another convenient playground for her extracurricular activities. Do you know anything about him? Pressed. Ryan hesitated. I mean, I've seen them talking a few times when I picked you up for basketball. They seemed friendly. I didn't think anything of it back then, but now. His words trailed off, heavy with implication. I decided to pay the gym a visit. Amanda was predictable in her routines, and I knew her usual workout times. Sure enough, I spotted her car in the parking lot. What I didn't expect was to find her in the corner of the gym, not working out, but leaning against the squat rack with Matt. They were laughing, his hand on her lower back. She wasn't even pretending to hide it. I snapped a photo from my phone. Evidence. Not that I needed more at this point, and waited for them to leave. I followed at a distance, my heart pounding as they exited the gym together, talking in hushed tones. They didn't get into separate cars. They climbed into Matt's. I followed them to a small diner on the edge of town, my car parked discreetly across the lot. They were inside for nearly an hour, their conversation animated and intimate. I didn't need to hear their words to know what they were saying. When they finally left, Amanda kissed him. Not a cheeky peck, not a friendly gesture. It was passionate, the kind of kiss that left no room for doubt. I clenched the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. That night, Amanda came home late. I was waiting for her in the living room, the photo I'd taken displayed on my tablet, propped up against the coffee table. She froze in the doorway when she saw me. Her eyes flicked to the image, then to my face, and for the first time, I saw genuine fear in her expression. "What's this?" I asked, my voice low and steady. She dropped her bag on the floor, her hands trembling slightly. "Ethan, I can explain." "Don't," I interrupted, holding up a hand. "Don't insult me with another lie. Just tell me how long this has been going on. Him, Travis, the others. How many, Amanda?" Her lips parted, but no words came out. Finally, she slumped into the chair across from me, her facade of defiance crumbling. "I don't know," she admitted quietly. "I lost count." Her words were like a dagger twisting in my chest. I wanted to scream, to lash out, but all I felt was a hollow emptiness. "Why?" I asked after a long pause. "Why wasn't I enough?" Amanda looked at me then, her eyes glistening with something I couldn't place. Regret? Guilt? Or just the exhaustion of having her lies unravel? "It was never about you," she said softly. "It was about me. I wanted more. More excitement, more attention, more everything. And you? You were just there. Always there. Steady, predictable. I don't know when I stopped appreciating it, but I did." Her confession didn't bring clarity or closure. It only deepened the chasm between us. "I hope it was worth it," I said, standing up. "Ethan, wait," she said, reaching out, but I stepped back, out of her grasp. "Don't," I said. "Don't ask me to stay when you made it clear I wasn't worth staying for." Her tears came then, silent but steady. But they didn't move me. I had nothing left to give her. Not my trust, not my forgiveness, not even my anger. "Pack your things," I said, heading for the bedroom. "I want you out by tomorrow." And for once, Amanda didn't argue. The next morning, Amanda was gone before I woke up. True to her word, if she could still be trusted with one. She'd started packing her things. Most of her clothes were missing from the closet, and her toiletries were gone from the bathroom. The house felt hollow, as if she'd taken more than just her belongings. I should have felt relief, maybe even satisfaction, but instead, I felt restless. Like the storm wasn't over yet. My phone buzzed, breaking the uneasy quiet. It was a message from Olivia. "Ethan, I just heard what happened. I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" I stared at the screen for a long moment before typing back. "Not really, but thanks for asking. Did she say anything to you?" Olivia's response came quickly. "She told me she was moving out, said you overreacted and that she didn't have a choice. But Ethan, there's something else you need to know." My heart skipped a beat. "What is it?" Her reply made my blood run cold. "She's been talking about filing for divorce, and she mentioned something about getting the house. She thinks you'll be too emotionally wrecked to fight her on it." I stared at the message, my chest tightening with a mix of anger and disbelief. Amanda wasn't just walking away from our marriage. She was planning to gut me on her way out. Filing for divorce was one thing, but trying to take the house, the one we bought together, the one I worked overtime to afford, felt like a declaration of war. I couldn't sit around waiting for her next move. I had to act. I spent the rest of the day gathering everything I needed. Bank statements, text messages, the photos I'd taken of her and Travis, the receipts from the credit card. I even printed the call logs from the phone bill, highlighting every late-night call and suspicious number. If Amanda wanted a fight, I was going to make damn sure I was prepared. By the time she came back that evening, the house felt like a battlefield. Amanda walked in, a box of her things in her arms. Her expression was cautious, like she knew something was coming. "You're home," she said flatly, setting the box on the table. "Of course I'm home," I replied, not bothering to hide the edge in my voice. "This is still my house." She sighed, clearly not in the mood for a confrontation. "Ethan, I don't want to argue. I just came to get the rest of my stuff." "Well, that's convenient," I said, crossing my arms. Because I have a few things I'd like to discuss first. Her eyes narrowed. Like what? Like this? I said, slapping the folder of evidence onto the table. Amanda hesitated, her face hardening as she glanced at the papers. What is this supposed to be? It's everything, I said. Every lie, every betrayal, every dollar you spent sneaking around behind my back. You think you're going to walk out of here with the house, Amanda? Over my dead body. Her jaw tightened, but she didn't flinch. You went through my private things? Spare me the outrage, I snapped. You lost the right to privacy the second you started screwing around. Amanda crossed her arms, her face unreadable. You don't understand, Ethan. I deserve something out of this too. I put years into this marriage, into you. And now it's over. So yes, I'm taking what I'm owed. Owed? I repeated, my voice rising. You think you're owed for cheating on me? For destroying everything we built? Her calm mask cracked, and for the first time, I saw real anger in her eyes. You're not a saint, Ethan. You were never around. You were always working or too tired or too focused on your own crap to notice me. So yeah, I looked for attention elsewhere. And you know what? I don't regret it. Her words stung, but they also lit a fire in me. You think that justifies what you did? You could have talked to me, Amanda. You could have tried to fix things instead of running off to every guy who gave you a second glance. Maybe I didn't want to fix things, she said coldly. Maybe I wanted out, and I just didn't know how to say it. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, I shook my head. Then you should have had the guts to leave before you tore everything apart. Amanda stared at me, her eyes flashing with a mix of frustration and defiance. I'm done with this conversation. Get out of my way. I didn't move. You're not taking the house, Amanda. Not after everything you've done. We'll see about that, she said, grabbing her box and storming out. As the door slammed shut, I felt a strange sense of calm settle over me. She was gone for now, but the battle was far from over, and I wasn't going to let her win. The next day, I woke up with a new resolve. I wasn't going to let Amanda walk all over me. Not in life, and certainly not in divorce court. If she wanted to escalate this into a fight for everything we'd built, she was going to find out that I wasn't the same passive, trusting husband she had been deceiving for months. I called my lawyer. Ethan, I'm sorry to hear about the situation, said Andrew, a calm, calculating man who had handled some of my business matters in the past. But if what you've told me is true, you've got a solid case. Infidelity carries weight, especially with evidence like yours. Let's go on the offensive. That phrase stuck with me. Go on the offensive. I spent the rest of the day gathering more ammunition. Every receipt, every suspicious transaction, every scrap of evidence was organized into a pristine binder. I even revisited Olivia, who, after some coaxing, agreed to write a statement about what she'd seen between Amanda and Travis at the party. But what really changed the game was the financial audit Andrew suggested. Ethan, there's a chance Amanda's behavior extended beyond infidelity, he said. If she's been hiding expenses, it could strengthen your position. First, I thought it was a long shot. Amanda wasn't reckless with money, or so I'd believed. But when Andrew's team dug into our joint accounts, they uncovered something shocking. She'd been funneling money into a private account for months. Thousands of dollars, withdrawn in small amounts to avoid suspicion. The anger I felt was unlike anything I'd experienced before. Amanda hadn't just betrayed me emotionally. She had been siphoning our savings to fund her double life. That evening, I called her. She answered on the second ring, her tone clipped. What do you want, Ethan? I found the account, I said, skipping the pleasantries. There was a long pause. What account? Don't play dumb, I snapped. The one you've been draining behind my back. Thousands of dollars, Amanda. Were you planning to use that to start fresh with Travis? Her breath hitched, but she recovered quickly. I don't have to explain myself to you. Actually, you do, I said, because that's marital property, and you're not walking away with a dime of it. She laughed bitterly. You really think you're going to come out of this on top, don't you? Newsflash, Ethan. The courts don't care about your hurt feelings. I gave up my career to support you, remember? They'll side with me. I clenched my jaw. You gave up your career because you didn't want to work, Amanda. Don't rewrite history to make yourself look like a martyr. You're unbelievable, she hissed. This is exactly why I left. You're controlling, manipulative, and you're a liar? I cut in, my voice cold. But don't worry, I'm done arguing. From now on, we'll let the lawyers do the talking. I hung up before she could respond, my hands trembling with a mix of rage and satisfaction. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of legal strategy and revelations. Amanda fought dirty as expected, but she didn't anticipate the amount of evidence I had. Every lie, every betrayal, every dollar she'd stolen was laid bare. But the real turning point came during mediation. Amanda arrived late, wearing a polished but insincere smile. Her lawyer, a sharp-looking woman in her 40s, seemed confident as they sat across from me and Andrew. The opening statements were tense, with Amanda painting herself as the victim of a loveless marriage. But when Andrew presented our evidence, the photos, the text messages, the financial records, the room shifted. Her lawyer's confident facade cracked as she leaned in to whisper urgently to Amanda. Amanda's face turned pale as Andrew continued. It's clear that Mrs. Hayes has not only been unfaithful but has also engaged in financial misconduct, draining joint assets without Mr. Hayes's knowledge or consent. We are requesting full ownership of the marital home and a significant reduction in any spousal support claims. Amanda's eyes snapped to mine, filled with a mixture of anger and fear. You son of a... Careful, Andrew interrupted, his tone ice-cold. We're still in mediation. She gritted her teeth, her carefully constructed persona slipping. For the first time, she looked cornered. By the end of the session, it was clear who had the upper hand. Amanda's demands for the house were denied, and the judge overseeing the mediation agreed to consider the financial misconduct when determining the final settlement. As we left the room, Amanda caught up to me in the hallway. Ethan, she said, her voice low and urgent. Can we talk? Just us. I stopped but didn't turn to face her. We're past talking, Amanda. You're really going to throw everything away? All those years together? She asked, her tone wavering. I turned then, meeting her gaze with a steadiness I didn't feel. You threw it away the moment you decided I wasn't enough. This is just the cleanup. For the first time in weeks, Amanda had nothing to say. The divorce was finalized 2 months later. The settlement was mercifully swift, thanks to the mountain of evidence against Amanda. She got none of the house and was held responsible for repaying the money she'd funneled into her private account. Spousal support? Denied. When the judge read the final decision, Amanda's face was a mask of bitterness. She refused to look at me as we left the courtroom. I didn't care. I wasn't walking out of that building with victory in my heart. It wasn't a win. It was survival. The first night back in the house, I felt an overwhelming wave of emptiness. Every room was a reminder of what we had built together and how it had crumbled. Her laughter in the living room, her perfume lingering in the bathroom, the faint outline of her favorite spot on the couch. It all haunted me. For the first time in months, I allowed myself to feel the weight of it all. The betrayal, the humiliation, the loss of the life I thought I had. I stayed up late, staring at the ceiling, letting the grief take its course. But when I woke up the next morning, something was different. The air felt lighter, the silence less oppressive. For the first time, I wasn't carrying the crushing burden of Amanda's lies. Life after Amanda wasn't easy, but it was mine again. I threw myself into work, into hobbies I'd neglected during the marriage. I started running, rediscovering the meditative rhythm of the pavement under my feet. I even joined a book club, something I'd always been curious about but never had the chance to try. Surprisingly, Olivia became a steady source of support. She checked in on me often, sometimes just to talk, sometimes to drag me out of the house for a coffee or a movie. At first, I was wary. She was Amanda's best friend, after all. But as time passed, I realized Olivia had been caught in the crossfire of Amanda's lies, just like me. One evening, over drinks at a quiet bar, she confessed something that floored me. Ethan, she said hesitantly, twirling her glass. I need to tell you something. I should have told you earlier, but I didn't know how. What is it? I asked, bracing myself. She took a deep breath. Amanda wasn't just cheating on you. She bragged about it. To me, to some of her friends. She acted like it made her powerful, like it was some twisted badge of honor. And I hated it. I hated how she treated you. Her words stunned me. Amanda's betrayal had always felt personal, but this made it feel calculated. Why didn't you say anything? I asked, though my voice lacked accusation. I was scared, Olivia admitted. Scared of Amanda, scared of what it would do to you. But I regret staying silent, Ethan. You deserved better. Her honesty hit me hard, but it also brought a strange sense of closure. For so long, I'd wondered if I'd imagined Amanda's coldness, if I'd been blind to who she really was. Olivia's words confirmed what I'd been too afraid to admit. Amanda's betrayal wasn't a failure of our marriage. It was a failure of her character. Months passed. Slowly but surely, I rebuilt my life. I redecorated the house, repainting walls and replacing furniture that carried too many memories. I opened myself up to new connections, new experiences, new possibilities. One evening, as I stood in the freshly painted living room, I realized something. The house no longer felt like a battleground, felt like a home again. Amanda had taken a lot from me. My trust, my sense of security, years of my life. But she hadn't taken my ability to heal. If there's one thing I learned from all of this, it's that betrayal doesn't define you. It hurts, it breaks you, but it doesn't have to keep you broken. And as for Amanda, I haven't heard from her since the divorce. Maybe she found what she was looking for. Maybe she didn't. Either way, it's no longer my concern. I've moved on. I'm alive again, in a way she'll never understand.